Hi and welcome back to the channel, and first things first, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for all the support that I've been receiving from you guys over the last few weeks. We have made it to 1,000 subscribers and all the comments you've been leaving on my videos have been just incredible and I cannot thank you enough. So I just wanted to start my video first of all with a big thank you to everyone who has got involved with the channel. It really does mean a lot to me and I appreciate you all. But we are back now with some Hogwarts Legacy content. We have done our initial breakdown of the trailer, and that was my first initial viewing through it, seeing all the secrets that I could find. But now we are going to take a in-depth dive into several sections of the game. And the first thing that we're going to be looking into is going to be the map and locations that we see throughout the game. I will will hopefully be able to link some sections of the map together, and I will also point out any secrets that I can see in the background of the locations that could hint as what they're used for or why we're going to be there or any other specific secrets. If you like trailer breakdowns, please consider watching my initial State of Play trailer breakdown. It goes into a broad detail of what I've found on my first watch through of the trailer and all of the secrets that I've found there. And also, please check out my breakdown of the initial Hogwarts Legacy trailer that we got last year. As always, if you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. We put out all things Harry Potter here. That includes trailer breakdowns, theories, and also news around the Wizarding world. If that sounds like anything you're interested in, hit that button below. But let's get into the video. So the first section that we're going to be looking into and breaking down the location of is going to be Hogwarts Castle itself, and this is going to be the outside of the castle, some of the inner rooms, but none of the classrooms or the room of requirement. So we get several shots of the outside of the castle, and from these shots we can actually map most of the outer area of the castle. And I'm going to be doing it from this scene here. So the initial first shot that we get of our character, you can see a path behind us which leads further out into the grounds. The camera then pans around and we get a nice wide shot of the castle. If you look at this scene here, to the right hand side, as our character walks across, you can see the faint outline of the Quidditch Pitch, and then further beyond that on the hill you get a nice look at the owlry. Also in the very far distance to the right hand side we see the wooden bridge, and then to the left hand side of the castle you see the silhouetted outline of the greenhouses. In front of us is the large courtyard that we do see later on in the trailer. We then transverse into a better shot of most of these locations, and you can see them in a lot more detail. As you can see, there is a fortification wall and a gatehouse that goes around the outside of this main courtyard area. The entrance through the gatehouse then leads out toward the Quidditch pitch that we saw in the initial scene. There is an entrance to the main castle here with 3 long windows above it. And then, as I said, to the left of the screen, you can see the greenhouses, which is where some of our lessons take place. And then finally, in the far distance on the left from this angle, you can then also see the other courtyard that we get in this trailer that leads directly into the Great Hall. Also, I believe this tower is going to be the Astronomy Tower, as you can see what looks to be a telescope sticking out of it. So this is likely to be where astronomy lessons are going to be if they do take place in the game. We then get a shot and our character is now stood on this ledge here, just directly below the owlry, as you can see the wooden bridge to the right. Directly in front of our character is the clock tower entrance and the clock tower courtyard. And again, to the left hand upper side, you can see the astronomy tower with the telescopes inside it. We get a glimpse inside the clock tower in this scene here, where our character is with one of our companions fighting some other students. You can see the swinging pendulum of the clock just to the top of the scene. The next scene we get is inside the castle, and I have been unable to place this at this time. Initially, I thought this door was going to lead out into the main courtyard that we see, and the reason for that is the 3 windows above it. However, looking at it from the outside, it does not make sense from the other features that we see. Either side of the door there appears to be 2 windows that are not present on the outside. Also, there appears to be windows up the stairs ahead of us, and these windows would not be present as this building doesn't stick out in any way. I've searched through the whole trailer to try and find out exactly where this is going to be, but I cannot locate it, so my only suggestion is that potentially it is to the backside of the castle that we do not get to see, or it is possibly up to one of the inner courtyards. Just for noting, this is definitely inside Hogwarts, as you can see the Hogwarts crest on the banners above and also some of the house colours. There's also multiple directions that our character can go off. There is a staircase directly ahead of us. There's also a staircase that leads up to the left hand side and also a staircase that leads down to the right. So this is the courtyard to the far rear that we saw from the initial shot, and these doors I believe directly go into the entrance hall outside of the Great Hall itself. This shot of the Great Hall is very similar to the shot we got in the original trailer, and you can see some of the emblems of the houses on the pillars around the Great Hall. To the right you see the Lion of Gryffindor, and to the left you see the Eagle of Ravenclaw. One thing to note is the staff table appears to have changed slightly and is now in a crescent shape with all of the teachers sat around it. Also, the stool is out for the sorting, and I believe this is just prior to your character being sorted into its house. Again, I do find it strange that none of the first years are in this location. They probably have already been sorted and you have been left till last, as you are a late starter. Also, in this scene we get a nice look at the sorting hat. The next 3 shots we get are of the Hogwarts common rooms. This is obviously going to be within the Gryffindor boys' dormitory. You can see the Gryffindor hangings around the beds. This is going to be within the Ravenclaw common room. All of the Ravenclaw colours are visible, and you can also see the wings of the eagle up ahead, and as the camera moves forward you can see the stars on the ceiling. We then get a nice shot of the Slytherin common room. There isn't much to say about this, however the green light is because it's located under the Great Lake. I have scoured the shots of any lakes that we get and I cannot see any obvious location for this. We also get a shot of the Gryffindor common room, and you can see the circular hole behind the fat lady just to the left of this scene. We then get some nice shots of the Hufflepuff common room, and this is one of the common rooms that was not visited throughout the movies or the books, so I was very interested to see this. It looked absolutely perfect and I really can't wait to explore this. Also, there is a notice board behind our character in this scene, so I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of side missions that you can partake in by going to the notice board. So a lot of the interior shots of this castle are very difficult to place. As you can see from this one, there is lots of yellow around the walls, which made me think that it could possibly be near to the Hufflepuff common room. However, the Hufflepuff common room is supposed to be located near to the kitchen, and the windows here suggest that this is higher up in the castle. There appears to be the skeleton of an Erumpent down below, and there is multiple staircases leading off in different directions. The stained glass window that we get a slight glimpse of to the left of the screen here appears to be some sort of depiction of what looks like a Chinese style dragon. I believe this scene is also near to the same location, as we can see more skeletons to the right hand side. This creature, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it appears to be some sort of ostrich shape. When our character uses a spell on this portrait, it clearly creates a secret passage which will hopefully lead you to another location within the castle, which is very reminiscent of what we see within the books. Behind these secret passages there is a alcove with a green tinted symbol that appears to have some sort of circular pattern on it. Another interior shot, and this is the 7th floor corridor leading to the fat lady's portrait, which obviously leads to the Gryffindor common room. Continuing with the inside of the castle, we get a look at a location that I wish we had seen in the movies, and that is the kitchen area of Hogwarts. As you can see, there are several house elves busy at work creating food ready for the students. There's a giant pot in the background, which they obviously use for cooking. I like the nice addition of the staircase leading to the top for them to add the ingredients. As you can see to the right hand side, there appears to be the long house tables, which is where they serve up the food before it is magically transported above them. And another interior shot is the Prefix Bathroom that we see Harry use within the story of the Goblet of Fire to figure out the clue for the eggs. You can see the mermaid on the wall, which helps him figure out that clue. This interior shot is to the top of a staircase, and if you look at the dome ceilings, it is very reminiscent of another location we have already seen, and that is going to be the Ravenclaw common room. I believe this is going to be just outside of Ravenclaw Tower. There is also another reason why I believe this. If you look to the statue to the left, I believe this is going to be a statue of Rowena Ravenclaw. You can see that she is holding a book, which is very fitting for the character whose house is all based around intelligence, and also around the top of her head I believe is the rendition for this game of the diadem. Also, for no other reason than I think they are stunning, I love the design of these windows. Now back to the outside of Hogwarts, we are looking at something outside of the battlements, but I believe this is going to be another location that we have not yet seen, because none of these battlements look similar to the ones that we saw in the original shot. In the background you can see what appears to be Hagrid's hut. It'll be interesting to see what this is used for in a time before Hagrid attending the school. This also looks to be a charms class, as you can see some of these students sat to the left of the classroom. It appears that this teacher doesn't stick to convention and takes these students outside for some of the lessons. We get a nice shot of the Quidditch pitch from this scene. You can see the battlements that we saw in the initial shot just behind this character, and then the Quidditch pitch directly behind that. You can see here the entrance to the Quidditch pitch for the students and players. And at the end of this scene, there appears to be some sort of wooden circle to the right hand side of the screen. I do not know what this is going to be, because if you look at the courtyard, there is nothing obvious to suggest what this is, so this is probably related specifically to this scene. Also, I think they have hidden a secret cave in this trailer. As you can see, the character gliding through this section here. It is dark as the character approaches and then turns lighter when the character goes over it and blocks it from view. I think the reason for this is because the character is then blocking the entrance to the cave, so it does not need to be blacked out. Now, I know this scene is not actually technically in Hogwarts, however I believe they are on their way to Hogwarts, and I think this is going to be the carriage that our character takes to Hogwarts itself. Now, it's interesting to see that Professor Fig is with him at this time. I have a few theories as to why he's there, but that will be covered in a further breakdown. As you can see behind this character here, there is a suitcase and what looks to be other luggage. This is reminiscent of what was piled up in the original trailer to the rear of the carriage. And also, if you look at the date on the newspaper that this character produces, it is the 1st of September, which is always the start date for Hogwarts. So I would suggest this is your character making its way to the school. And another random location within the school that we get a shot of is this fireplace. I believe this is going to be inside the school, because if you look above the fireplace, you can see each of the house crests. To the left of this fireplace, there is a Demigod statue that we see in the Fantastic Beasts series. Now, I believe this location is going to be the office of the potions teacher, and the reason I think that is because if you look to the right hand side of the scene here, there is a coat that looks very similar to the one that we see him earlier in the trailer. We also get this shot, which I believe is going to be the outside of the greenhouses. The walls along the side here look to be the same as the side walls of the greenhouse, but just from the outside. As you can see in the distance, the greenhouse seems to go off to the right, which would suggest that potentially this courtyard could be located somewhere here. Another interior location we get a nice glimpse at is the library, and what I guess is going to be the entrance to the restricted section, as the librarian does say that he has just come from there. So, continuing inside Hogwarts, we are now going to move into the classrooms themselves and see what secrets we can find from them here. The first classroom that we get is inside the Charms classroom. There are lots of spells located on the walls around this classroom, and I have covered them all in my initial breakdown. I'm hoping that because they are written on the walls, they are actually going to be in the game in some sense. We also get a look inside the greenhouses, and we can also see which specific greenhouse we are going to be having our first lesson in. As you can see on these doors, there is a 1 on the door to the left, and our character goes into the door with the number 2 above it. So we are going to be in greenhouse number 2 for this lesson. And as you can see, our character comes out onto what looks to be some sort of balcony and then heads down the stairs into the classroom that we can see here. To the left, there looks to be some sort of a spiky plant, which I believe could be a venomous tentacular. To the right of the screen, you can also see some dirigible plums. These are mentioned in the Harry Potter books when the Golden Trio go to Luna's house in the Deathly Hallows. We also get a look at the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. This has a very similar design to what we see in the movies, with the Defense Against Dark Arts teacher's office being up some stairs to the rear of the classroom. There's also a dragon skull suspended from the ceiling. It looks like it is going to be the same breed as the dragon that we do see in this trailer, as you can see from the positioning of the horns. This classroom is clearly the potions classroom because of the cauldrons that we see throughout the classroom, and also there is a depiction of a cauldron and some scales on the blackboard in this room. There is also some Latin writing written around the room. Unfortunately, zooming in on this in this trailer, I can still not make out exactly what the words are saying. When we get a look at this shot inside the potions classroom, we get a look at some of the ingredients that we will be using. There appears to be a bundle of knot grass, also what I believe to be porcupine quills. I have zoomed in on the book. Unfortunately, I cannot make out any of the writing, and also there is a bottle on the shelf here which has a label on it, but again I've zoomed in as far as I can and I cannot make out what this photo on the bottle is going to be. The only other ingredient that we get to see is hawk lump juice, which our character adds to the potion here. And the next classroom that we take a look at is what I believe are going to be the Transfiguration Classroom. The desks to the side of this room appear to be very similar to the desks that we see in the leaked footage that shows some transfiguration magic. There's also several animal cages dotted throughout the room, and we know that transfiguration does focus heavily on transfiguring animals into different objects. Also on the whiteboard there is what appears to be a teapot, and this, other than divination, is the only other classroom that we see in the Harry Potter series to specifically use a teapot. There appears to also be a board similar to the Charms classroom with several spells written on it, however they are not possible to be made out in this scene. There's also spells along at the top of the classroom, and some of these can be made out. I've noticed the spell Ridiculous, which is obviously used to banish boggarts, Protego, the shield charm, and Alohomora, which is the charm to open locked doors. The next classroom that we see is going to be the History of Magic classroom, and we can see Professor Binns is still teaching at this time, and he is also in his ghost form, so he has already previously died. Looking at this class, the students appear to be very bored still. There's also a giant glass window with a depiction of Merlin on it. This is obviously hinting to some of the side missions that our character can partake from the time when Merlin was at the school. And there was one more classroom hidden in the behind the scenes footage in a blink and you'll miss it moment, and that was this classroom here, and this looks to be the Divination Classroom. The furniture matches what we know the room to be from the Harry Potter series, and all of the tables seem to contain a crystal ball. Also there is a giant palm on the desk here and a drawing of the palm on the wall, which would suggest the palmistry readings. There's also this drawing on the wall which seems to hint at the inner eye. Be interesting to see what this classroom's like without Professor Trelawney in it. And the last location we have to take a look at within inside Hogwarts Castle is going to be the Room of Requirements. So let's take a look at this wide shot here, and there's a lot to break down. Hanging from the ceilings there appears to be red banners, and I believe this is going to be a choice as colour from which house you choose to be in. Straight ahead of us we can see the location that heads to what I've dubbed the Fantastic Beast location inside the Room of Requirements itself. And then we can also see several stations dotted around the ground floor, which is going to be used for us to catch up on our training in the lessons for certain things such as potions and herbology. The one thing I have noticed from this scene is to the top left and top right there also appears to be more rooms that lead off from this one, much similar to the Fantastic Beast room in the middle. I have a theory as to what these rooms are for, and that is based on the light from each room. If you look to the left, the light appears to be some sort of a dark light that is glowing out of it, and to the right there is a bright white light coming from it. I think this could be something to do with the morality system, and depending on which level your morality is, depending on where you can go and how much you can upgrade these rooms to the side, and these will obviously give you benefits and spells more favoured to the dark side on the left or the light side on the right. As the character enters this room, there is 2 statues either side. It looks like the one on the left is a Niffler. Now, as we see from this skill trees section, there is a section at the top called Outpost, and I believe this is going to be based from the Roma requirements, because as you look to the right hand side here, there is a writing desk with an owl perched on this. I believe this is going to be some form of in-game communication that you're going to be able to use from the room of requirements. On the left hand side, you can see the Herbology section of the room of requirements, where you're able to grow plants, and these plants are able to help you out in the combat. It is worth noting, as we get a closer look at this, there is some Slytherin banners either side of this, and our character is still wearing the Gryffindor robes. This to me would potentially hint at the fact that maybe our Slytherin companion is going to be very good at herbology and is going to help us out with this lesson. We then see our character purchasing a T-shaped potion station inside the room of requirements, and the area around it has a lot of hidden details. As you can see here, there is a cabinet directly behind the potions table, and this cabinet seems to contain a crystal ball and several battle horns, and also what looks like some skulls. On the right hand side, there is also a shelf containing more skulls and what looks to be some sort of sand timer, but behind that there is a wall straight out of the Nightmares of the Black House, as there appears to be house elf heads mounted on the wall. And just to top off this sinister scene, there appears to be some sort of what I would describe as a torture device directly behind the table. We also get a nice shot of when our character first enters the room of requirements, as we can see there is nothing else around him in this room, and it would appear that the Fantastic Beasts area is going to be one of the first areas that we unlock, as this is the first thing that we see growing. It also is interesting to note that these 2 trees seem to sprout up beside it. Take a look inside this location, we can see that we are able to buy and also rotate several objects that we wish to build. Starting off with a cottage. Also, we can purchase a well, which I would presume is going to be used to water the beasts that we have in here. There is also an anvil with a hammer that is magically working away by itself. This is possibly going to be to craft things to look after the beasts inside. Also, there is some form of bird feeder behind the anvil here. And as we leave Hogwarts through the gateway with the 2 winged boars either side, we move on to our next location, and that is of course the area of Hogsmeade. We get a nice shot of the Hogsmeade station here, and this is the track that the Hogwarts Express comes in on, and the students will debark ready for their first days in Hogwarts. We then get a very similar shot to what we got in the original trailer of us moving into Hogsmeade, and then a few more shots showing deeper into the village. Unfortunately, there are not many signs around this location for me to be able to decide which shops they are. There is a fireplace to the left of our character here, so this could be outside of the 3 broomsticks, but unfortunately there is nothing to confirm this theory. We also get a shot inside a few of the shops. We only have one confirmed location, and that is this potions shop, which is at Pippin's Potions. The other 2 locations, I believe, are going to be Tomes and Scrolls, which is a specialist bookshop in Hogsmeade. And as we see the clothing shop here, I believe this is going to be Glad Rags Wizard Wear. In this scene here, we also get another shot of the entrance to Hogwarts, looking at it from the other direction. If you see at the far end of this shot, there is an archway, and this is the same archway that we enter into Hogsmeade. Just to confirm how close Hogsmeade is to Hogwarts in this game, you can see what looks to be Gryffindor Tower behind the character in the distance through the buildings of Hogsmeade. There is 2 shops visible in this scene, and the first one is Pottage's Cauldron shop, which you can see the cauldrons lined up here, and then as the camera pans around our character, you can see the Hogsmeade branch of Ollivanders behind him. The longest shot we get inside Hogsmeade is the shot with the Dark Wizard talking to Ranrock. Unfortunately, this looks to take place down a side alley, so there is not many features that I am able to pick out. However, in the background here, behind the Dark Wizard, it looks as though this is going to be the 3 broomsticks. There is one more confirmed shot in Hogsmeade, and that is this shot where we are speaking to a goblin in the Hogshead pub. You can see the sign for the pub behind the goblin here. And the other shot, which isn't confirmed to be Hogsmeade, is the shot right at the beginning of the trailer with the troll busting through the wall. The buildings look very similar to that of Hogsmeade, and when the Dark Wizard is talking to Ranrock, you hear him talk about a distraction that our character has just taken out, and I believe that is going to be this troll here. One more location that could possibly be Hogsmeade is going to be the scene that we see with Nearly Headless Nick walking through a graveyard with our character. I believe this is going to be around the Halloween time because it looks as though this could potentially be Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day party. And the only other time we see a graveyard is in some of the artwork that we get from behind the scenes, which looks to be in a similar location to that of the Shrieking Shack. It'd be very interesting to see if the Shrieking Shack has recently been derelict, and because Nearly Headless Nick is hosting his Death Day party there, this is where it starts to get the representation of being a haunted location. Now, we look at some of the combat scenes, and this seems to be the main location where all of our Dark Wizards are located, and I would just like to draw your attention to a few things here. We have banners on all of these pillars around the location. There's also a statue of a female figure with a hood over her, and there's also this mural on the floor. We get a better look of it later on in the trailer. Now, this particular area has green banners with what appears to be a dragon on them. However, later on we do also get a location with a similar green banner. However, this one appears to have a centaur on it. Perhaps this is different factions of Dark Wizards in the area. They have all turned up to the location to help out with the Goblin Rebellion, but there are different, potentially warring factions. Also, in most of these locations, you can see the statue of the hooded female, so I'm guessing that these locations are going to be very close to each other. In this shot here, we get a better glimpse of the mural on the floor, and you can see what appears to be the shape of a phoenix head. The background is very similar to the colours that we see in the banners up above, and also as this scene progresses you can see the banner with the dragon, also what appears to be a banner with a phoenix, and potentially a banner with a snake below that. Perhaps these are the different factions, as well as the new one, which is the centaurs seen in this scene. The phoenix banners are also seen in some artwork here. And the next location that I want to cover is what I've dubbed the Goblin Workshop, and this is the area that we see our character enter into here. In the background there appears to be lots and lots of moving parts. There seems to be large tubs which I could imagine contain molten steel. We know that goblins make armour and all sorts of weapons, so I think this is going to be one of the locations that they do that. Also on the fence here behind our character is this symbol, and you can also see it in this scene here closer up. I believe this is going to be some sort of symbol that is imprinted on the armour to prove that it is goblin made. You can also see water wheels down the bottom which seems to be powering all of the machinery. This scene here is outside where I believe the entrance to the workshop is going to be. As you can see in the background, there is the water wheels that are seen inside this cave. So to me, that suggests this is possibly the entrance to the workshop. We also get another shot from the outside, and there seems to be chains and pulleys in the backgrounds, which to me suggests this could also be very near to the Goblin Workshop. We are also fighting goblins at this time. And the final location is one of the most intriguing to me, and that is the place that I've dubbed the Chamber of Mysteries. I believe this could potentially be the entrance to it, however I believe there are going to be many dark caves around the area, so it may well not be. But when we get inside, we see this giant chamber with a massive statue, very reminiscent of the Chamber of Secrets. If you notice the floor, it seems to be blue with all of this silver patterning, and all of the doors around the chamber seem to be very tall and have this metal artwork along the top of them. There's also what appears to be some sort of water fountain in the middle of this circular area here. I don't know whether our character has to drink from these fountains to be able to progress further forward. This area appears to be very similar. The floor design matches what we see in the previous scene, and also the artwork above the doors also seem to match what we see in the giant statue chamber. There is also a weird circular symbol up above, which could give us some hint as to what this chamber is about. However, at this time I've not seen it anywhere else in the trailer. In the scene that we see Professor Fig fighting Ranrock, if you look at the design on the floor and the walls, it looks very similar to what we see in the Chamber of Mysteries. And if you look at this freeze frame here, there even appears to be one of the drinking fountains as the characters fly backwards. So perhaps this is going to take place there. This may be linked to the main secret of the whole game, and as to why Ranrock is after you and what he is looking for as a whole. Also, the design on the floor in the room where you fight the statues seems to be in the same location. So these are probably the guardians of whatever secret this chamber holds. And finally, there is a lot of locations that are unfortunately not able to pin down as to where they are. I will put them on the screen as I talk through some of them now. The background of this location makes me think of Gringotts with the chandelier that we see above them. We know that we go to Gringotts later on in the trailer because we see a character going on the roller coaster ride inside the bank. So perhaps this is how they get there. I believe this is going to be within the Chamber of Mysteries. However, I cannot confirm this at this time. The flooring is the same similar blue colour, and the artwork above each of these doorways matches the artwork at the top of the doorways that we see in the chamber, but it does not look exactly similar, so I've left this separate. During the character creation scene, the character is not wearing robes, so potentially this is going to be taking place in either Hogsmeade or potentially in Diagon Alley, and we are getting fitted for our robes at the time. A lot of the fight scenes are very generic. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pin down the locations. Some of them appear to be more close to Hogwarts, and some of them appear to be more in the wilderness. We also get this massive sequence with the Reparo charm being used on this bridge. It appears to be leading to some sort of tower in the background. This symbol looks very similar to the symbol that we see in the Chamber of Mysteries, so potentially this is a way of getting in there using our strange magic. And finally, let's take a look at the map that we get in the behind the scenes footage. Now, this is only a portion of the map that we get for the game, and we can tell that by the grid coordinates that we get across this map. I would imagine that the map is possibly going to be a 6x6 location just by looking at the numbers on this map. As you can see in the top corner, that is block 6-6, and it is going down numerically in the first number towards the left of the screen, and then it is going down numerically in the second number to the right of the screen. So it is safe to say that what we are seeing here is a less than a quarter of the map. The only location that I've managed to possibly locate is this lake down to the bottom near the 5655 location, and that looks possibly to be the lake that could be near to the Goblin's Workshop, but this is not confirmed at this time. Looking at all the roads leading off to the right near the 6-4 and 5-4 location, I believe that Hogwarts Castle is probably going to be off in this direction, as all of the paths lead in this way. So one of them could potentially lead to the castle and the other could lead to Hogsmeade, but that is just speculation at this time. There are several similar symbols on this map. We have these tower-like symbols, these building symbols, and also these entrances. So this to me suggests that these are going to be small hamlets, points of interest, and entrances to caves. The terrain looks fantastic. It's very diverse. There is a good mix of mountainous areas, wooded areas, and what looks like grassland, as well as the watery areas of the lakes and the rivers. When I first saw this map, I was blown away by the size of it, and then I realised that it actually is only a very small portion of the full map, and that blew my mind even more. There is so much to explore and see in this game. So there you have it. That is my breakdown of all of the locations and secrets that I've found in those locations through this game. Let me know what you think of my breakdown below, and also let me know if I've missed anything at all. I will be covering more specific parts of the game in my upcoming videos, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, please, as I said, consider subscribing to the channel. We make constant Harry Potter content here, and that includes the breakdowns of the films, the games, and also we do theories and news about the wizarding world as a whole. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, mischief managed.